Hi, I'm back with Chapter 15 of the Detective Club. You know, at some point, we're going to get unlucky and run right into them, Drew said on our walk home from school the next day. I know, I agreed, which is why we need to get going with the plan to trick everyone into thinking we're popular in every other town besides Fenwick. We sat in Cobalt Canyon making up our new identities. By day, we were the mysteriously isolated Peter and Drew. But outside of school, we were the most popular kids in the neighboring town of Halliston. On weekends, we went to birthday parties with all the cool kids at Halliston Middle and simply had no time to attend parties at Fenwick. But how can we prove we go to parties in Halliston? I asked Drew. What about digital pictures? I put a hand on Drew's shoulder. There aren't actually any parties we're going to. Remember? I said real slowly. I know, I mean, we could make fake pictures, Drew said. A good chill ran through me, as opposed to the bad kind you get right before you throw up. Drew, I have good news, I said. You've officially gotten out of the box. He beamed. Really? You are box free, my friend, I said, and we high-fived. Okay, so here's the deal. Tomorrow after school, I'll borrow my dad's digital camera and we'll take a bunch of fake action shots of us hanging out at parties. What I need you to do is pick up some cheap party decorations so we can make the inside of the treehouse look like someone's birthday party. And oh, you'll need to order a birthday cake at Stop and Shop, which we'll pick up tomorrow. It should read, Happy Birthday, Emma, because there aren't any Emmas in our grade. How much does a birthday cake cost? Drew asked. Does it really matter? I asked. Kinda. I'm the one paying. You're wrong, Drew. There's no price tag to thinking outside the box. Okay, honestly, I'm still not solid about this box thing. Forget the box! Just make sure you order the cake tonight, Drew. I have to go home for dinner. I'll bring the camera with me to school so we can come straight here afterward. We shook on it. All day long in classes the next day, I was itching for school to be over so we could take our fake party pics. Students furiously scribbled notes as usual, but I couldn't concentrate. I would try to take notes for a minute, but my mind would wander. At the end of the day, I ran into Sunny in the hall, and she asked me if I was ready to discuss my ideas in TAG class. It's not until Wednesday, I corrected Sunny, patting her on the head. You must be pretty high-strung these days, huh? Today is Wednesday, genius, she said. Crap. I took off to find Drew the second the bell rang. He was waiting for me by the entrance. I forgot. I have TAG class now. I'll meet you at Corbett Canyon afterward. I'll show up late for class. I showed up late for class, and already the room reeked of espresso. As Miss Shoemaker walked around the table, as you're focusing on building your prototypes throughout the semester, you're also going to have to prepare your pitch, describing the invention at the fair. So for today's class, let's go around and have you each describe one of your inventions, one idea you have to the class, and the rest of us will offer our 2 cents about it. I glanced over at the cubbies on the shelves and groaned. Almost everyone had a big box or bag of some sort in it, along with pieces of wood, a hammer, an industrial-sized bottle of Elmer's glue, and a ruler. My cubby, of course, was empty. Sunny's yellow duffel bag was so full, it stuck halfway out of her cubby. Now, why don't you all take out a piece of paper and start listing the pros and cons of your invention while I run down to the teacher's lounge for a refill, she said, waving her empty espresso cup, wafting the smelly fumes as she left the room. Everyone took out their notebooks. I was frazzled. I was so frazzled that I'd almost missed class and that I didn't seem to be, or I don't know, that I seemed to be the only student who hadn't already started working on a prototype. But when I opened up my inventor's notebook, I relaxed a little, remembering that I'd filled in a third of it with really good ideas. When Miss Shoemaker returned, Carson started describing his idea, a calculator on his belt buckle, which we all quickly shot down because he'd be the only one to use it. But more people would want to buy calculators if they had a place to wear it, he said in defense. That might be what some call a niche product, meaning it's for a very, very specific consumer. We want to think broader, Miss Shoemaker said. The good news is Sunny's idea didn't seem to have or be that promising either. Her idea was to have glass pots for plants so you could see the roots and stuff like an ant farm. And there'd be a thermometer on the side of the pot to tell you the temperature of the soil. Then if a plant wasn't doing well, we'd know it's because the soil's too cold, Sunny said, or if the soil's too dry or overwatered. Very interesting, Miss Shoemaker said. Unfortunately, it's still a niche product. Just like Carson's calculator holster. Only plants that can afford health care would be able to buy it, I said. Everyone stared at me, and I guess that sounded funnier in my head. Peter's right, though, Graham countered. An ant farm is cool because you get to watch them build societies and stuff. A plant's roots, on the other hand, would barely move. It would be boring to watch. Sunny's cheeks looked like they were boiling. It often takes several attempts before you hit on the right invention, or even a perfect, promising one. It took Thomas Edison 1,000 tries before he got the light bulb. And he never thought of them as failures. I believe he said something to the effect that the light bulb was an invention with 1,000 steps, Miss Shoemaker said. She looked at me. How about you, Peter? So, let's see. So many ideas to choose from. Oh, here's one. I have an idea for something I call the Urban Sound Machine. It's for city people like Carson. City people, he said? Remember when you moved here from New York and you hated how quiet it was? I asked Carson, and he nodded suspiciously. Well, this would be a sound machine to help city people sleep when they're in quieter areas. For example, there would be a setting on the dial that makes it sound like a construction worker's outside your window, working a drill all night long. Have you ever been to a city? Carson asked me. I ignored him and described the other settings, but everyone frowned. The home invasion sound would give older people heart attacks, Sunny said. No, it wouldn't. It's the quiet that city people hate. Isn't that true, Carson? Let's bring it down a notch, Peter, Miss Shoemaker said. That was just when I first moved here, Carson said. Now when I visit my uncle in the Bronx, I can't stand how loud it is either. Sunny pretended to look really thoughtful by twisting her mouth and tapping the table with her pencil. Maybe this is more of a gay gift, Peter? It's not a gay gift, I shouted. The late bell rang. Look, I said, pointing at Carson. Everyone jumped a little in their seats when the bell rang except him. Miss Shoemaker put down her mini cup of espresso. Peter, What did I say about shouting in class? Okay, good session, everybody. Being able to really think about and critique each other's inventions helps develop the creative mind. For next time, I want you to write a one-page description of the invention you want to focus on this semester. And try to think ahead of time about why people would possibly say no to it. Sunny was smiling at me as we left the library. Urban sound machine? She said. What were you thinking? Hey, look, I said, pointing at the spider plant in the corner. I think that leaf just moved. How fascinating. It was starting to get dark when I got outside. And we hadn't even taken our fake party pics yet. Whew! I booked it all the way to Drew's house, climbed up to the treehouse, and groaned. He hadn't decorated the inside, so it would resemble a real party like I'd instructed him to. What the heck have you been doing all afternoon? I asked. I ate a snack inside, he said, and I scowled at him. What? That takes time, Drew answered. Where's the cake? I was waiting for you. Drew, it's getting dark outside. Wouldn't the party be at night? I guess you're right. Come on, let's go get it then and set things up. I had to borrow his dad's old 10-speed, but the seat was so high that I could barely pedal. So I ended up sort of rowing with my legs. We finally got to Stop and Shop and picked up the birthday cake. When I saw it, I started feeling better. It was perfect. It read in cursive, Happy Birthday, Emma, across the top with blue icing. Drew had $5 left over, so we visited the florist next to the bakery and bought a red rose to add to the fake decorations. We discovered that the pre-made bouquets had this wet green foamy square inside the pots that the flowers stuck out of, and it felt neat to poke our fingers into them. But then the florist yelled at us for ruining the bouquets, and we took off before she could arrest us. We biked back, and Drew got some birthday candles in his kitchen. We took it up to the treehouse, and then set up a tiny table to go with our 2 beach chairs inside. We positioned ourselves around the lit candles and put on big smiles, as if we were having a great time watching the imaginary Emma blow out her candles. It took some practice, but we figured out eventually how to shoot it so it looked like we were at a huge party. Drew would wear a long-sleeved shirt so his elbow would be in the corner of the picture, and I'd be next to him. Then he'd change his outfit so it would look like I was standing next to someone else in the next pic. I even convinced Drew to put on a few of Mrs. N's dresses to impersonate actual girls at the party. I made sure to only include Drew's shoulder in the shot, so it looked like I was standing next to a hot girl, or at least a girl with a really hot arm. When we were done, we looked through the photos, and I had to admit, they looked pretty authentic. Do you really think this will work? Drew asked. There's nothing like cold, hard proof to convince everyone we're cool, I said. I will finish Chapter 15 in the next video. Keep listening for Thursday morning.